This is Rob Morse of the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. I'm reminding you that this podcast is one of the many good ones on the Self-Defense Radio Network. Check out the other podcasts at selfdefenseradio.net.
Welcome to Unload and Show Clear, the podcast about all things IDPA. And now, here's your host, President of the Non-Threat Assassination Squad, Lloyd Bailey.
Welcome to another episode of Unload and Show Clear, where we counter the media's negative image of gun culture by introducing you to the amazing men and women who are involved in IDPA, International Defensive Pistol Association. We're focusing on people, not politics. The everyday people from all walks of life, men and women who volunteer their time and effort, who spend their hard-earned dollars on travel, match fees, and gear to make this sport great. They're your doctors. They clean your teeth. They're fixing your houses, taking care of your pets. They fix your computers and pilot your planes, and they protect our streets and our nation. They are gun culture at its finest, and it's misunderstood or completely unknown to the mainstream media. Today, I'm going to introduce you to another one of these awesome people. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor. I found my friends Dave and Reagan Williams at Salina Gun Shop when I needed an FFL transfer for a firearm. Several years ago, they were just a tabletop FFL. Well, since that time, they have grown into a one-stop shop for guns, ammo, accessories, gunsmithing, custom engraving, and they are a certified Cerakote applicator. Whether it's a custom build, engraving, or Cerakote, no matter how mild or how wild you want your firearm, no matter what you need, they can handle it. Now, I've taken them older guns that have bad and scratched up finishes. Salina Gun Shop made them look like new. When my wife wanted her own Glock 19, I had Salina Gun Shop Cerakote the frame to just the right color that she wanted. I've had them install new sights on my guns, do repairs and trigger work on my revolvers. I trust them with my guns, and you can too. I cannot recommend them highly enough. Check them out today at salinagunshop.com. That's CELINA gunshop.com. Look for a link in the show notes to get to their website. Or if you're here in North Texas, stop by and visit them in person at 701 North Preston Road, Suite 310 in Salina, Texas. salinagunshop.com. Small town store, big town service. salinagunshop.com. Our special guest today is Doug Klueh on the road in Lawrence, Kansas. Another Hoosier joins us, and oddly enough, all of you are from Evansville. Welcome to the show, Doug. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Lloyd. I really appreciate it.
We met at the Illinois State IDPA Championship a few weeks ago, and despite that, you agreed to come on. So I really do appreciate that. Tell us a little about yourself and what you do for a living there in Evansville.
Well, Lloyd, I'm a tool and die maker by trade, but a tooling engineer for a plastics manufacturing company in Evansville.
Okay. Are you a native of Indiana?
Yeah, I've always lived in Indiana. I grew up about 20 minutes north of Evansville in Hobstadt, Indiana.
Okay. Introduced to guns early on, hunting or shooting with parents or grandparents, or was guns something that you got interested in as you grew older?
You know, I mean, I had cousins in Tell City, Indiana, where my mom and dad are from. I always went up there, and we'd go rabbit hunting. And so my first firearm was a H&R Breakover 410 shotgun. So I got a lot of use out of that, and kind of morphed into, as I got older, into 12 gauge deer hunting with family and friends.
And what was the transition from shotguns to handgun?
Well, once I found out I could get a license to carry a firearm, I made that my goal. When I was finally able to, I went out and purchased my concealed carry permit, and then went and bought my first handgun, which was a Ruger P91 DC, which is a 40 caliber.
Oh.
At the time, the 40 caliber was it had the more knockdown power than the 9 and more capacity than a 45. So at that time, that was the gun for me.
How long after that before you became interested in, how were you introduced to competitive shooting?
It was quite a while from the time that I bought my first pistol into the time that I started thinking about competitive shooting. It was always something that was, I always enjoyed shooting at the range, but, you're always at a static firing line. You rarely drew from a holster, you rarely moved. So sometimes it got boring.
Right.
So, so quite a few years ago, a friend of mine, Rob Presley, told me about a local gun club that held matches where you could draw and shoot while moving through a course of fire, and it really intrigued me. So kind of took me about 6 months to work up enough courage to go to my first match. I was intimidated, right? I mean,
right.
You're sitting there you're thinking that, I'm going to go into this place and, there's going to be everybody. It's going to be fast and really accurate. And all I'm probably going to do is go in there and up. But that really wasn't the case at all. Well, I mean, I did stink it up that day, but, everybody was really nice and welcoming.
You didn't show up with the Uncle Mike's holster or any of that stuff, did you?
I did not. I had a little bit of a precursor. Our club held a kind of an intro class to IDPA, and I kind of talked to some of the guys, and they kind of gave me a few pointers. So I showed up with a Serpa holster. So I got to hear about all of that good stuff, and so I didn't show up with the Uncle Mike's, but probably something worse.
Right, exactly. Still shooting the P91?
Nope. I never shot the P91 in competition. By that time, I'd morphed into the 9mm. I abandoned the 40 caliber, so I was shooting a Ruger SR9C that I carried.
And what are you shooting today? You're shooting mostly CCP, I understand. So
yes, I shoot a Glock 19 Gen 4. So some would say I transitioned to the dark side, but but no, I shoot that mainly in CCP. My first stint was SSP when I was shooting that SR9C. So I could load to 11 and load to 10 in my mags, and that's what I carried every day. So it kind of that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to compete with what I carried every day.
Right.
But then I realized that 3.4 inch barrel on that SR9C was a little bit of a hindrance compared to some of the other guns I was competing against.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first sanctioned match? How long after you got up the nerve to go and shoot the local match and you found out it wasn't quite as bad as you thought? How long after that before you decided I'm going to try one of these state or regional matches and pay the big bucks and go shoot with the guys in the NASCAR jerseys? Well, my first match was in 2016. My first sanctioned match was the Illinois State Championship. I started shooting the year prior to that. A couple buddies of mine worked the match, so they shot the match on Friday and they worked on Saturday. So it took me about a year. Okay. What do you remember of that day, that particular match?
Of that match, I remembered that I didn't get DQ'd, so I felt like that was mission accomplished.
Right.
So, as I mentioned, a couple of buddies of mine had worked that match, Jay Heil and Mike Bazin. So, that work on Friday, shoot on Friday, work on Saturday. I really like that concept. And I just received my SO certification a couple months earlier. So, since becoming a safety officer, there's only been about one or two matches that I haven't worked, either as an SO, a scorekeeper, or squad leader, in both local and sanctioned matches. So, 2 matches a month, not including the sanctioned matches. So since that first major match, I've probably worked about 60 to 70 matches at the local and sanctioned level.
Okay. What was the, where did you get the interest, or what made you decide you wanted to become a safety officer?
Through the guys that I shot with, again, Jay and Mike, they were SOs and they worked while they shot. And so, just helping the new shooters come on. And I just wanted to be a part of that, try to grow the sport, try to get new shooters to feel comfortable in coming. Cause I knew how I felt coming into it. I was shaking in my boots the first match. And so I think it was very important to try to, once you identified a new shooter, is to really kind of help them out, to say, hey, if you got any questions, be sure to let somebody know, so that was why I did it.
Okay. And have you got a memory of one of these, one of those 60 some odd matches that you've worked and shot that, stands out in your mind, something fun or interesting or odd both as a shooter and as a safety officer?
I think that, probably the biggest memory, we all shoot to compete, and try to get better. And so it was at Prairie Dell Shootout last year.
Mm-hmm.
I was shooting on Friday. And, just like every match, you got to put, however many stages. If it's 10, you have to put 10 stages together really well in order to finish well. And so I was at stage, I think it was 10 of 11. So I was on my last, I put together what I like was 10 good stages. I was at my last stage, and they like to be evil, I guess, and they put a non-threat right behind a piece of steel.
Oh, my favorite.
Yeah. And so, I'm sitting there getting ready to maneuver through the stage, and, I'm sitting there going through my mind and how I'm going to shoot it. And so I start off, and I felt like I started off strong. I come to that steel, I shot it, and I didn't hear a ding. I thought, crap. So, I shot it again. I didn't hear a ding. And so then I'm really starting to, sweat it. So, not to mention challenging you for the non-threats at times, but so I ended up putting 3 rounds in that dang on non-threat before I knocked that steel down. And so I think I lost first place by, I think it was like 14 seconds. So that was really, that really stuck in my craw, and, you just move on, right? I mean, there's nothing you can do about it, and it's just, good time. So yeah, that one I still remember.
Yep.
So ever since then, I've really been focused on steel, which sometimes my bullets seem to be scared of, I guess, but it's just something I've been working on.
I feel your pain. I totally understand. Any interesting experiences as an SO?
What comes to mind, I think, is maybe not necessarily interesting experiences, just, getting to see people that, whenever you see them as a new shooter at a local match, and you see them grow, you see them get better, and, you see them start competing at major matches, as an SO, you kind of, when you work those matches, you take people under your wing, like I talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. I think it's just really, not that, we all deserve the credit or anything, but I mean, it's just good to see people go through and through that progression. But not necessarily a specific story.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So you're shooting CCP. You started out in SSP. If you couldn't shoot either one of those and you had to shoot, let's throw the easy ones out of the way. Let's throw ESP, SSP, and CCP. Throw those out. If you had to choose from one of the others and shoot it all a year, which one would you choose?
I would shoot PCC.
Ah.
I would like to, I've not counted it out yet, of getting a rig and starting to go that direction. It just, I like the rifle manipulation. Mm-hmm. I think that would be very interesting, and I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Right. Completely different challenge from the handgun. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. All right, so you've heard the show, so you know about the pick your poison part of the show, where we've got some either or questions for you, and you decide which one of these two options, or you can't say either or both. You got to give me one. You got to tell me which one you like or which one you prefer and why. So you go to lots of sanctioned matches. You've obviously seen lots of standard stages. Now, we're not talking about one of these like warm-up stages with 6 shots on a one target, maybe a zebra or something, but a full-blown standard stage. If you had to shoot it the first stage of the day or the last, which is your preference?
I'm kind of just one of those guys that, you put it in front of me and I'm going to shoot it. I really don't have a preference, but I will say that if I had to pick one, I'm going to shoot it first, so I know the deficit I'm going to have to work out of. Just get it over with and just deal with the rest of the day. Right. It'd be like that stage at Prairie Dell. I'd hate to go the rest of all day long, have 10 great good stages, go to that last stage and jack it up and lose it because of it. Because,
right.
So I think I'm going to shoot it first and go from there.
And have that last stage be the memory that you take away from the match. Yeah, I totally understand that.
Yeah, I don't want one of them again.
Wide open stage with all the targets, say at 20 yards or so, with no hard cover, no partials, no non-threats? Or would you rather have everything really close, 7-10 yards, with lots of hard cover and lots of non-threats? Which would you prefer?
I kind of, the whole purpose that I got into IDPA was to shoot my carry gun, right? That's where I'm coming from this at. And so, statistically they say, 3 rounds, 3 seconds, 3 yards. So I doubt that taking a 20, 30, sometimes there's a 40-yard shot at matches, so I'm the up close and personal, spray and pray stages.
I got you. So the non-threats don't. You look at the non-threats as an opportunity to challenge yourself rather than something that freaks you out and you worry about. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I like that challenge, and I've been known to take out several non-threats. So I just figured into my plan early on.
Right. Eliminate the collaborators. Right.
That's right.
I'm trying to remember weather-wise, what's Southern Indiana like? Do you like freezing cold weather or really hot? You've shot both. If you had to choose 30 degrees or 100, which would you prefer?
Man, that's a tough one. I honestly think I'll take the 30.
Okay.
I think I'll take the 30.
Why?
Just that stifling heat. Just it's hard to get away from. When you're standing out there in the ranges, sometimes there's a breeze, sometimes there's not. When it gets that hot, it really drains you.
Mm-hmm.
You work those. A lot of times you work matches and you pick up brass at the end of it. At the end of those matches, I'm going. I don't even care about brass. I'm I'm hitting the air conditioning.
Yep.
But yeah. So.
And the brass is like hot coals too.
That's right. Yeah. Well, at Sparta this past year, half of it was underwater.
Right.
So it's like, I'm just going to leave it. It's all right.
Yeah. Yeah. We saw we saw all kinds of movers at Illinois this year. If you had to choose, which would be your preference? And you've talked about shooting non-threats, so, brother non-threat assassin here. Do you prefer, say, a swinging threat target with non-threats behind it, or a swinging non-threat in front of the threat targets?
I think I'll do the swinging non-threat in front of the threats.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like for me, I tend to time it better than trying to shoot that mover. So I think I would do the swinging non-threat. Gotcha.
You can kind of post up on that stationary target.
Yeah.
Would you rather shoot moving targets or shoot on the move? Which do you find to be more fun?
I like shooting on the move. I mean, I like that movement. And as a match director, for local matches, when you're setting up, it's easier to reset without moving targets. It's easier to tear down and set up, and so I'm a little biased on that, so that way you don't have to drag out all the heavier equipment.
Right. Gotcha. Here's one. I think we saw one of these at Illinois. I'm sure you've seen one of these, and you've probably set one of these up at your own local matches. What I like to call the hold my beer stage, where you come to a point of cover and you shoot a steel activator of some kind. It activates a disappearing target. Could be a drop turn with a single presentation, or one of these in and out, or a target that pops up and down. But at the same time, you could engage paper. There are paper targets that you could also engage before you go back and shoot the disappearing target. Some people will take that risk. They'll shoot the steel, and then they'll try to clean the paper before the the disappearing target disappears, and some people are more hesitant and they will wait. No matter how long that thing is, presenting for, they will wait for it because they're not sure of their skill with the moving target. Generally, how do you approach those stages? What is your thinking on those? Are you one that will take that risk, or will you play it safe more often?
Shooting CCP, round count is just extremely critical.
Mm-hmm.
And, depending on, it kind of varies, but I will say that on something of that, if I have, it's in the right part of the stage, I'll be a risk taker and, take a shot at the steel, take a shot at the paper before the mover or before the disappearing target. It's kind of like the hero or zero,
right?
See what happens. That'll be one of those stages you'll be going, man, I did that great, or you'll be walking away going,
well, there's 10
that differently.
Right, there's 10 points.
Yeah, there's 10 points. Yeah. Been there, done that.
Yep. You talked about your preference for shooting on the move, and you, I'm sure, have seen. In fact, there was a stage like this at Illinois that was kind of cool, where you had lots of open space and you had targets that you could engage before you get to the fault line. They're presented before you get to a fault line where you can engage other targets.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you come to one of those positions. You're moving from point to point, and there is a target that you could shoot before you get to the fault line, but it's a partial. Are you one that will take the chance, shoot that target? Because shooting on the move is a tough skill, especially for newer shooters. Are you one that will take that shot before you get to the fault line, or will you wait and take until you get into position and take the easier or the safer shot?
One of the things that I've been working on throughout just trying to improve each and every month is to trust my shots. During stage planning, just trust your shots. Don't plan on other extra makeup shots. But on something like that, if I'm coming up to a fault line and I can take that shot, I will take that shot. It's that hero or zero.
Right.
And I'd hate to look at my statistics about the hero versus zero, but yeah, I am a risk taker, and I'll take that shot.
Gotcha. At this point in your career, you've been doing this now since 2015. What part of your game would you say is your strongest suit? What's your primary strength, and what part of your game do you need the most improvement?
Oh man, all my parts of my game, all parts of my game need significant improvement. There's not enough time right now to answer that, but but I think my next big thing is on the to-do list is probably try to improve on my sight pictures. A lot of times, especially if I feel like it's a close and fast stage,
mm-hmm.
I do a lot of point shooting. Muscle memory takes over. You press out, and you're looking around, and you're not even looking at those sights. You're just sending lead down range. And so, you've got your target in sight, but you're not physically aligning the sight, seeing the target and pulling the trigger. You're point shooting. And so, that has contributed to some of my higher points down numbers. And so I'm really trying to work on that. But one of the things I feel like I've improved on the most, still a long way to go, but when you work a lot of the matches, getting your prep time before you get to the line is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I was shooting with Ross Robinson at a local match, and we've been talking about that exact thing. And at that local match, he just really, really pushed me to take my own time and in the on-deck circle and, run through the stage. He just would tell me, he said, so what are you doing over here? Get over there and get ready, And so because you're handing the timer to somebody, you're handing the scoring tablet. He said, get in that on-deck circle and run through the stage in your head as many times as possible. Work through the footwork and the reloads before you step to that line. That way you imagine running the stage multiple times before you actually step to that line. That's been a huge improvement, I think, in my game. Still not perfect. I still jack it up from time to time, but no, I think that's probably the biggest thing that I feel like I've improved on.
Okay. Yeah, the mental game is a lot of times the hardest thing to master. You can get all the fundamentals down, but when the buzzer goes off and everything goes out the window, it doesn't really matter.
Yep. Yeah. Well, forgetting to burn a round or something. CCP. You tend to burn a lot of rounds when you if you weren't shooting the other divisions. But if you don't burn that one extra round at times, and you forget to, and you're sitting there transitioning between targets, like, well, I can't shoot anything because there's nothing to shoot out right now. So you got to run up there and. You do a standing reload. It just all goes out the window at that point.
Yeah. Which of the rules changes in 2017 do you think affected you the most, either positively or negatively? Which of those rule changes do you like the most? We had the 1 second per point down. We had the ability to reload out in the open. We had fault lines. Which of those changes do you think was the most significant for your game? And which do you think, talk a little about how it improved the game overall as an SO?
Yeah. So I think when they first came out with fault lines, I mean, I was probably, I didn't like them. I was dead set against them. And just, but the more I got to use them as both a competitor and an SO, it's like, all right, I can live with this, and you started seeing the benefits and whatnot. It takes the judgment call out, and I think the fault lines was a real controversial move, and you had the people drawing, they were on each side of the fault line, right? The for and against, and it took me a little bit to warm up to it, but no, I think overall, I think the fault lines are, I like them now, and as a competitor as well. Mm-hmm. So I'd probably have to go with that one.
Never having that embarrassment of yelling cover at somebody when you're kind of not quite sure, and then they pause and it screws them up, and then they're mad walking away from the stage. Taking away that whole subjectivity, it was just that. I think I agree. Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah.
Besides your gun and holster and mag carriers and all the regular stuff that everybody has in their range bag at a match, is there something that you put in your range bag that you have to have, absolutely have to have when you go to a match, and why?
It's probably not that unusual, but I guess the way I came about it to some degree is my dad had a small old brass hammer in one of his old toolboxes. Mm-hmm. When I started taking tool and die classes in high school, as one of my first projects, I took that hammer. It had a wireframe handle. It'd been broken for quite some time, and so I thought, I'm going to take that and make an actual a small tapping hammer out of it. So, I took it to school, spun a new aluminum handle, threaded it all in the lathe, and drilled and tapped the head and assembled the two pieces. And that's been nearly 32 years ago, and I still have that hammer, and it's always in my range bag. So, it's more the story behind it. It's something that was my dad's when he was in the trades and things of that nature, and so I proudly have that in my range bag.
All right. So as we wrap things up here, like I say, you started in 2015. You became a safety officer. You MD local matches. You hardly ever shoot a match that you don't also work now, and you're working and shooting matches all the time. What is it about IDPA that keeps you doing it? What is it that you love about this sport that makes you invest the time and the effort to help others, to help set up and work at these matches, and to try to improve?
It is without a doubt the people. It's the people that step up and become a match director for events large and small that take on the responsibility. They got to learn all the rules and be committed to that sport. It's the individuals at the local club level. They help develop new shooters. It's so important to keep this sport alive and growing. They're always a helping hand without any judgment, right? Everybody wants to feel welcomed, and so those individuals that do that and brings the new shooters and the SOs into the fold. It's the SOs themselves that take the personal time to just to be part of a sport, and work those matches, take time from work, the extra money that it costs to do that. So these matches are possible. These are all ordinary people, right? It takes a lot of people to put on these matches, specifically the sanctioned matches, but also the local level. But, they're all truly an awesome group, and you make so many friends that you can joke and laugh. And, when one of them is having some struggles in life, you give them support, you pray for them. And it's these people you would never have known even existed,
right,
if it wasn't for this sport we call IDPA.
Well, Doug, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for everything that you're doing for the sport. And thank you. I really do appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. It was great to meet you, and I look forward to seeing you on the range down the road.
Absolutely. I really appreciate the time you took, and we'll see you at the next match.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank our guest for coming on the show and our sponsors for making all of this possible. Take a moment, if you would, to check out the website, check out our show notes at unloadpodcast.com. We've got lots of interviews with more amazing guests like the one you heard today. Join our Facebook group at unloadpodcast.com/Facebook for all the latest updates and to connect with other fans of the show. And if you'd like to support the show, we sure would appreciate it. Consider becoming a patron at unloadpodcast.com/extra. I've got some full-length interviews and special content available there exclusively for patrons as well. And if you know somebody or you yourself would make an interesting guest for a future episode of Unload and Show Clear, please contact me at lloyd@unloadpodcast.com or click on the contact page on the website and send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Tune in again next time for another episode of Unload and Show Clear.